This lesson is on displaying HTML out of a PHP program. Now you can see here I have a very simple page. Just a heading area, some lines, and the bottom line is telling us what is today's date along with the current time. Now if I want to see that change, I can just reload the page up here. Click it. It now says 11 minutes 7 seconds. 11 minutes 10 seconds. Click it again. 11 minutes 13, and so forth. So we could do this all day long, but let's take a look at the PHP code involved in getting this to happen. Here's the PHP code. Now look at this. I've done something rather extreme. I have all of the HTML coming out of PHP print statements. Beginning tag, the ending tag, the end body tag, the body tag, the headings, everything, the styles, the head area. All of the HTML code that was that page we were just looking at has come out of a PHP print statement. Now, you know, that's not really a good way to do it, but I just wanted to show you that you could, and that PHP is essentially writing out HTML to your browser. That's the final thing that it does. That is the output that we're going to see. We never see PHP code when we do a view source, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the PHP code's output, in most cases, is plain old HTML back to your browser. So I wanted to show you this kind of extreme case so you could see it. Now, even here though, I had to put all my PHP code between this beginning PHP tag, the angle bracket, question mark PHP, and then the ending one, question mark, angle bracket. So we had to do that. The only other code I have here is this date function. Date, and this figures out the year, month, and day, hours, minutes, and seconds. And we put it into a variable that I printed out here by putting it in this print statement. Now, I want to show you something. Let's go back to the web page. If I do a view page source on this, let's see what the HTML looks like that was generated. Oh boy, it's all on one line. You know, if you had a problem with the HTML that's being generated, having everything on one line makes it very hard to debug. It's very hard to find out what to do to fix whatever it is you want to fix. This is a very short web page, it's not too bad, but most web pages are a lot longer, so this could get really squirrely. Let me show you a little trick you can do to help make this easier to debug. Back to the code. Now, as long as we're between double quotes, this won't work for single quotes, I can put a new line character on here, and it's \n. And I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put it at the end of most of the lines here, even in this blank line. Just go ahead and add it, it's not hard. And then I'll go ahead and run the program again, and you'll see the effect here and why I bothered doing this. So I've done the program. Let's go back and reload the page so we get a new version of this. Okay, I click it and I still get my time changing. That works fine. But let's do a view page source now. Voila! It looks a lot easier to read. This area that you see doing view page source, it's a lot like a text editor. We're not really going to edit here, but it displays like a text area. It's not rendering HTML. It's showing us what HTML looks like in TextPad or Notepad, for example. So those new line characters act like if we had hit the Enter key. Makes it much easier to read. Now, I'm going to show you something else in the code. Let's go and do this a little better. I have another version of this set up a bit more appropriately. One of the good things about PHP is using it to render things that change about HTML whenever you run it. Now here, right now, we're doing things very simple. We're just changing the date using the date function. But all of the rest of this stuff, the top of the page, the HTML, the body, the end body, and HTML tag, they're never going to change. So we write them in regular old native HTML. And we only put the PHP that we really need to run between these two tags. So now we just have two lines. This is the same line we had before, the date function, pulling back the date and time. And now we have one print statement showing us this new paragraph with the today is whatever today is. Let's go ahead and run this one. I call this one Start 2. So I'm going back to the browser, and I'm just going to update the URL here and put in the 2. Now I'm going to run it, click, and we still get time. Notice the time's changing every time I click. works perfectly. So let's go back and look at something else. Now, I said that we can keep the static HTML in regular old HTML. You know, this beginning paragraph and bold thing, they don't really change. So I could put them up here. And likewise with the end bold and end paragraph. I can go ahead and put them outside of PHP, and this thing should run together. Now, you don't have to get fanatical about this. It's okay to have some HTML come out of a print statement. But in general, you want to pull the static things out. Like here, I'm going to leave today is here in this print statement. I could have pulled it out and put it up here, but I find this easy to read and easier to debug. So I'm going to leave it in. I'm going to run this again. And it still works. Now, since we are going to put out HTML, let's go ahead and change the color of something because we do that with HTML. Now, please don't use something called the font tag. The font tag has been deprecated. And the current way to make colors change of text is to use a style tag. I'm going to do this the simplest way, and I'm going to use something called an inline style. Now, when I want to affect a bit of text that's not in a paragraph or it's not in a table cell or something like that, but I want to change its color, I have to wrap it in a special tag called a span tag. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to put the end tag. All right, so you put it in a span tag. Now, this is just a marker. It gives us a way to apply a style to a bit of text, in this case, this sentence. So if I want to make the color blue, for example, I'm going to change the style of the text. And here's how you add a style to a tag, an inline style. I put the word style, say equals, and I'm going to use single quotes here. I could use double quotes, but I don't want those double quotes to be confused with the double quotes that are using to delimit this entire string. Keeping your single and double quotes applied properly so that they don't interfere with one another is a very important thing to watch out for in PHP. And throughout the lessons that follow, there'll be numerous discussions of how to do that. So for right now, I'm going to put in the property color. And I say colon, blue, with a semicolon. And that's the way to say I want the text that follows to be blue until I hit the end span tag. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go back to the browser, and I'm going to reload it, and voila, we have blue text. That works pretty good.